Alright, I'm going to show you guys something I've been working on a little bit recently. So, this is going to come as a relief to quite a few people who've been watching my streams recently. I've probably sunk over 20 hours live on stream working on this thing, and I am finally going to show it off. Now, I'm going to say this right off the bat that this is not going to be a tutorial. I will be showing a lot of this and explaining everything and how it works, and all of this is color-coded, and there will be a world download for this world in the description below, including this thing that I've been working on. But I won't be doing a tutorial as of now. If there's enough demand for it, which would surprise me, and people want to see a block-by-block tutorial, after I set this up in survival mode on my patron server, I'll consider doing a tutorial, because this thing has gone under dozens of mini revisions here and there. Lots of little wires like that green one were, in a different spot right up until just a couple of different changes ago. And frankly, I usually at this point in a build, I would be able to, basically recreate it by heart. But I don't actually know this thing well enough to build it, block by block for you guys. And it would take me an extreme amount of effort. And like I said, I don't think the demand for something like this is exactly that high. Typically, for brewing stations, and this is another disclaimer, there are only about 4 or 5 potions that you really need. Like night vision and invisibility, fire resistance, water breathing are pretty much the only ones anybody ever makes. And individual micro brewing stations are extremely common, partially why I've never made a video on any of them, because there are a dime a dozen on YouTube. You can just look them up right now, and they're probably the thing you'd want best. But this is kind of a design. It's like a pet project of mine that I've been working on for a long time. So flying back all of about 2 years, only the oldest fans of mine would even know what I'm looking at right now, but these are some of the first 3 redstone projects I ever built on my channel. Not the first 3, but we're going way back to like 2 or 3 years ago with some of these. And this brewing station is something I showed a very long time ago, obviously. This is, as far as I'm aware, actually still functional, but it's extremely smaller. The wiring was a bit more condensed, and it didn't really need to be overly complicated. Observers didn't exist, so it had to be a bit chunkier, and things like Dragon's Breath and the other ingredients that are now in the future designs didn't also exist either. And I added way more features. So I'm going to go ahead and read off a list of things that this does and explain kind of why it's useful and why you might want it for yourself. And this is, it includes but not limited to an easy ingredient selection. So you can just go ahead and select anything that you'd possibly want, like say a splash potion of extended night vision, or if you wanted to troll your friends and do a boosted damage potion, you could select all of those, and then it would brew everything. So it uses these hoppers in the top right here, and then it spits out 9 of each item, and then it'll all filter into this minecart, and it'll distribute evenly over all 9 brewing stands. So if I just click if I just click this button with the ingredients selected, it'll complete the circuit, shoot them 9 times, and they'll go down in here. And there are lots and lots of little things. Like this only turns on if a certain of these 4 ingredients are selected, because the items won't move through the hoppers fast enough to make it here in time, and it can bug out, but it will stall it just long enough for everything to flow in nice and clean. And then very shortly after that last item gets in here, it'll send the minecart off and distribute every single item in the correct order. Another feature of this is that it has a second set of brewing stands. You might have noticed right behind it. This is for Nether Wart. So it has a separate Nether Wart brewing station right behind it, which shaves off 20 seconds of every single ingredient. So unlike automatic systems where the potions are readily available, you do have to kind of sit around and wait for these to brew, which really isn't that bad, seeing as it brews 27 at a time. And having the Nether Wart right behind it is great, because the only potion that doesn't need Nether Wart is Weakness, and that is used with Fermented Spider Eye. And it can work with a awkward potion. So literally every single potion needs an awkward potion, or at least can, use an awkward potion. So by having that other word back there, it kind of just saves a ton of time. And then it automatically sorts the potions, which is way easier said than done. In fact, this over here is meant to be a bare bones design. So for anybody wanting to just build a brewer and they don't care about the output, you can go ahead and set this up. This is a great little skeleton of exactly what the full system is. Everything back here basically includes the bottle ingredient, the bottle input. So This is just a Shulker Box Unloader for water bottles, which will be obsolete in 1.15. 1.15 makes it so that dispensers can fill water bottles, which will be a really, really nice thing to implement. But that's not something that's possible yet, and will be something that I'll hook up in the future. Now, I can demonstrate while I pop in here real quick. When that last item goes in, this hopper will be empty, and it starts this clock. So it's a 25 item delay, which is exactly 20 seconds, and then as soon as that last ingredient's done, it groups the items so that none kind of shoot out ahead, and then dependent on the ingredient selected, it'll go to the correct output. So this is Potions of Harming. What I meant by that is it groups the items because every once in a while there would be a bug where a potion would shoot way out ahead and it would actually use 2 shulker boxes for one set of potions. So we just sort of group them up all for that one reason. And then it has automatic brewing, if you will. So if you flip this lever, all it does is a simple unlock where when this delay to group up the items activates, it'll actually send the next batch of potions, so it can automatically brew the same one over and over. I can actually demonstrate this, for example, with, let's say, water breathing. So if I activate the water breathing, it'll send out 9 pufferfish down here. It'll start brewing 9 water breathing potions, and then it'll continue to do so until this chest is full. So all of this wiring back here, again, I will get into the specifics of all of this later. This is just a quick overview. When this is full, it basically powers this comparator, this repeater, and then it shuts off this line. This top line goes up and into the wiring and makes it so that you can't actually dispense potions anymore. And it does that by powering this dust. So long as this dust is powered, this torch can't be activated, and you know. So it's actually a pretty safe system. So if you wanted to just brew a ton of a certain type of potion, for God knows why, you wanted 2, 3, 4 double chests of shulker boxes full of a certain potion, you could just flip this lever and go watch a movie or something. Because potions are kind of slow. I mean, as fast as I try to make this system, I mean, you kind of just have to wait. There are ways to use multiple sets of brewing stands, and you can brew a lot faster than this, but I wanted this to be a little bit more of a practical system, you know, something that was just easy to set up. And you can see that I definitely threw that out the window at some point. So that's basically the big overview. It has a lot of features and it's really easy to use. For the user, all you have to do is select the ingredients, hit the button, and it'll go to the correct chest so long as you leave the ingredients selected. And that's basically how it works. So most of these wires are just a straight turn into these pistons down here. But what does happen is there's all of these wires going up over here, which are color-coded down here. So if you guys want to follow any of these wires, harming, slowness, and invisibility are all corrupted potions. And whenever they get activated by the whatever you call it, the fermented spider eye over here, it changes the output. And if any of these 3 corrupted potions are activated, it actually shuts off all of their ingredients. Because if you wanted to have, say, sugar, or whichever one of these is sugar, and you corrupted it with fermented spider eyes and you made slowness would actually push these pistons down so it wouldn't sort into the wrong chest. And that's pretty much it. I'm actually going to turn off that, and then in a second here, I just want to make sure that we're not about to get, you know, too many potions. So I'm going to wait just a moment, wait for these potions to flow out, and then I'll show you kind of exactly how it selects. So long as you have, say, the right ingredient selected, they'll go into the into the proper chest. So you can see no matter what you select, it'll just change whichever piston's extended. You see we have sugar right now, so if we do fermented spider eye, it will disable these 2 and extend the slowness potion. If you turn this off, it'll actually close that one and open up the spider eye. It's actually a pretty slick system. You can spam it. It is spam proof. I haven't been able to break it doing that. It's really nice. So let's get into some of the specifics. This is why I didn't want to do a tutorial in the same video, because if I explained this potion system and did a tutorial, we'd probably be here for an hour and a half. So the potion dispenser is pretty slick. That's this magenta wire right here. As I already explained, whenever items go into this hopper, this works if there's only one item, by the way. It will activate this comparator, and if it's one item, it'll basically just turn on and turn off. And that'll update this piston, and then that observer will go, I can actually It'll go up and then down, power the note block, update the piston, and then this will basically count out 25 items. I'll go over here and then back. And then when it comes back, it'll power this comparator fader into this system, which actually splits. So in the red, it's the Nether Wart system. Now, I won't explain in too much detail the timings on this, although it did take quite a bit of effort to get this right. You just basically need to lock these hoppers in a certain sequence, and then all of these repeaters up here are a very specific delay to allow exactly 3 potions to flow out, and then it locks again so that you can get the next set in. So what happens is it unlocks these hoppers down here, and then it locks these ones at the same time so that no more bottles flow in. It drops these 3 into the droppers and shoots them out. Then it unlocks these ones, locks these hoppers, allows for 3 awkward potions to flow in, and then it unlocks this top hopper, because if you have this unlocked, it'll be awkward potion, bottle, and then it unlocks these ones to just refill the awkward potion. So I can actually demonstrate that right here. If I just activate this, you'll see this one will flow out, and then it'll unlock it, let these 3 go in, and then it'll unlock this and let those 3 go in. It all happens pretty quickly, but it works really, really well. If none of that made sense to you, don't worry about it. We'll be moving on. So the red circuit is for the Nether Wart, and then anything blue on this side is for bottles, water bottles. This is basically just snuck in here is my ultra tiny Shulker Box Unloader. I'll be linking that in the description below. It is TNT proof, although I didn't put the water in here because no TNT will be going through here. I designed this for a storage room because it was buggy. But as I said in 1.15, this will probably be obsolete, but if you just sort of take glass bottles, and I can actually go into survival mode. I have a macro. You can just right-click. Right-clicking is fine, but I have a macro. It happens very, very fast that way. All you got to do is just load it in manually. That is the fastest way to do it manually, and since you're going to have to be filling the bottles anyway, I didn't feel like there was any need to automatically do that. What you could do, which would be really, really slow, is have this shulker box have like a hopper on it, for example, and you could stand up here with bottles and just right-click endlessly. But you would right-click faster than the hoppers could move it, and like I said, it'd be really, really slow. So I think a manual shulker box loader is the best way to go for this. And then it'll just, you know, grab from here every single time and unload the bottles into this system as needed. You do need quite a bit of shulker boxes in here. It's not too big of a deal, but it is important because if you run out of bottles down here, you'll mess up your potions. And I also, thanks Jaffe, you know who you are, although he probably would never make it this far in a video. You guys can tag him on our Discord, which you should join in the link below. There's an elevator over here to recycle all of the shulker boxes, so that's a pretty neat system. All right, so that's most of the bottles and how they, and the potions and how they get interacted with. Let's talk about ingredient selection and the input, which is pretty simple. So basically, every single time you start the system, it'll power these repeaters 9 times, one for each of the brewing stands, and it'll power whichever droppers have a block in front of it, and that's basically it. That's exactly how you select the ingredients. The reason I use hoppers here is even though they're slow, they do preserve the order that they were fired, which is incredibly important. If lingering potions got there too soon, it would slow everything down. That's actually partially the reason we have turtle shells up front, because these need to flow in one at a time, 9 of them, and you need basically 9 hoppers worth of delay, because each hopper will move, you know, at the same speed. Anyway, you have 9 hoppers of delay. That's why these are up front. That was actually a stream suggestion by, was it Refordu? I think it was Refordu. He suggested putting this at the very front to allow for enough time, because if you wanted to make this, you know, Turtle Master level 2, you need to have it, you know, enough time for the glowstone to make it. So you can see that the will flow in here. The piston will be told to wait for the glowstone, and then it'll start brewing some potions, so we can just let that go. And that's the input. It's actually pretty simple. A lot of this is sort of background knowledge, like the orange circuit, for example. This is just a delay to allow the minecart to bounce back and forth 3 times. A common suggestion I did get was, why don't you just put this on a detector rail, and then so long as there was items in the minecart, just have it bounce back and forth. That would work in pretty much any system, but I didn't really have a space to fit it in here the way that I set everything up. That is a perfectly valid way to do it, and probably a better way to do it, but this orange clock is all that I need to give it enough time to distribute all the items properly. So it's really not a big deal. And the yellow circuit and the orange circuit are what I said as background functions. It's not something you need to understand as a user. It's just kind of an extra delay if need be. And then this is the delay for the minecart to work. And it's not nothing too crazy. Moving on, we've got the invisibility, slowness, and harming. These are just kind of marked for back there. It's not something I'm proud of. This is probably the messiest way I could have done it. There are a million different ways I could have done this, but to those of you who like computers, these are just basic NOT gates and AND gates leading in. So a NOT gate, I think it's an OR gate actually. An OR gate means if sugar or rabbit's feet are selected, they will trigger this torch. And if this torch goes off and the nether, the fermented spider eye goes off, it activates the slowness piston. And that piston will only go down if the 2 correct ingredients are selected. And that's that's the same logic for all of the other potions that get affected by fermented spider eye. Again, it's something that took me a lot of time to figure out. In fact, I can show you, I preserved the shape of the wiring. The first take I did on this was a basic matrix, and it was basically this. This is what I would think is the most, what would you call it, organized way to do it. And it really is a clean way to set it up. It's just extremely large and unnecessary. And all of this wiring here was just to get it into a row just like that. So to have a nice clean output just like so is exactly why I designed all of this. And you can see the wiring over here is completely different from the design over here. Does the exact same job. Again, I'm not proud of it, but it's the best I came up with. Now, I did hook up all of these circuits to a invisibility switch. So if you guys want to take a closer look, you can do that. Do not flip more than one of these levers at once, because as soon as they become barriers, they are no longer unique. So if you flip 2 of these levers at the same time, whichever one you unflip, it'll turn every one of those blocks to that color. So if you flip every single one of these levers and then you flip brown, every circuit will become brown. That is just hugely important, okay? Do not mess that up, because you might want to just download the world again if you do that, because I did that and it was a massive pain. Because I tried to hook you guys up with every single one of these colors, and then just getting excited, I started flipping way more levers than I should have, and I probably lost an hour of my life doing that. So be careful. Up top here is just a basic item filter. I mean, it's literally just plug and play. I mean, you guys have seen item filters before, I'm sure of it. That is something you can load into any storage room or anything you want. It's very, very nice. I do have a row of command blocks way over there that gives you all of the ingredients. So that's something you could use if you ever want to just fill up all these on your own. That's something I use quite a bit. And then if I have all of these item frames here just to indicate which ones can be lingering, because not every potion can be made into a lingering potion, believe it or not. And I constantly forget. So this is my master list of every potion that can be lingering. Now, it's fair to say that this is not an idiot-proof system. In fact, it's quite the opposite. If you just flip every lever and then click the button, the minecart will fill up all of these hoppers with all of the wrong items, and it'll mess everything up. That's not my fault, okay? If somebody does that, that's user error, okay? This is not a system made for anybody. An automatic brewer would be exactly that, where the chests refill themselves. In fact, that's, as I kind of teased, what I'm sort of working on over here. Again, this will be in the world download. I'm not 100% sure if I want to spend another 20 hours working on something like this, because I certainly could do it. I think an auto brewer is possible, but so many people have already done them, and I don't have an insanely original idea. So, like, it might not happen, but I got myself started just in case I change my mind. Now for what I consider to be the fun part, because this was all kind of unnecessary, and I was a little scared of the wiring at first, but then it all kind of came together, and I had a really good time building this. So these pistons up here are actually for this system up here, so even though they face down into the cauldrons here, they don't actually interact at all. In case that might be confusing, I wanted to get that out of the way. So what we've got here is a proprietary Shulker Box loading system. What that means is this is not a Shulker Box loader, and it's in the gray, by the way. This is not a Shulker Box loader that you would ever want to build normally, but because this sends a set group of 27 potions every single time, this piston will always retract, and extend when it's done, and that'll always fill a full shulker box. So that's partially why I did 27 potions, and you can see the wiring for this is kind of extensive. I could have just done a simple torch burnout here, and it would have distributed 8 of every ingredient, but that one more pulse, which is what I needed to tack on at the end here, that one more pulse is all you needed to make it a full shulker box and a full single chest, because I designed this like 2 years ago. And that was a number I really, really wanted to hit. So this does create a full shulker box of whatever potion you brew, and we made a special shulker box loader just for that. Now the fun part. So the other blue circuit, this is not related to the water bottles, reads kind of like I showed earlier. So every single ingredient, every single potion has a comparator and a repeater, and then it lines up with this piston extending down here. Now this just gets chained downwards, so every single time you select an ingredient, the piston forgets its block and leaves behind a cauldron. This has 2 out of 3 water, so that the signal carried on by the comparator is only 2. If that was a 3, it would power 2 of these pistons extra, and that's not good. So as long as you keep it 2 out of 3, it'll do it just like that. And then we use note blocks, which are my new favorite bud update, my new favorite block update. It's so, note blocks are so good, because this piston actually gets powered by quasi connectivity, and then the note block updates it. It's a whole thing. You could use pistons as well, but it wouldn't update. It wouldn't update well. So if you see if I showed this, all these pistons would get extended, not just the one. So if you do it like a note block, it's better. I'm on a tangent because I really like note blocks. But what happens here is 2 things. So on the one hand, it completes a circuit. So if you have an ingredient selected, I want it to, well, let me first off say what this does. So I want the ingredients to power a block, and then that'll go through here, and it'll tell the system to brew another one, kind of thing. You know what I mean? And I'm starting to think about this, actually. I don't even know if I need this anymore. No, that's what happens. Okay. So when it goes through, it actually tells it that it's full. And, you know what? This is what I meant by revisions, by the way. I don't want to edit this clip, by the way. I just wanted it to be one big talk session. But as I'm thinking about this, I designed this so that when the circuit is completed, it would power this and then tell it to brew again. But on second thought, I think that's what this circuit does. I don't know if you need this, but I'm not going to test it. What does happen as well, though, is it has this torch up here, and that's kind of what I showed in the very beginning of this. So this torch tower is your input. Whenever you send that button press, it goes all the way up through these torches. And if the ingredient you have selected is full, I can actually demonstrate that right now. So if you select an ingredient that is full, it'll actually, oh, this is needed. So this will not only stop this circuit from powering this torch, because if it unlocks this torch, this forces it off. So you absolutely do need it. I was just questioning myself. And it also powers this line up here. So not only will it stop it from auto brewing all the time, but it'll apparently do the same thing in 2 different locations. It'll stop this from inputting, and it'll stop this torch from going off. So now that I have this circuit, I don't think I need this circuit. Again, I designed this once and didn't look back. But the point is, the rest of this is pretty sound wiring, and it looks really industrial, honestly. There's something about a bunch of pistons facing everywhere that just, oh, it's so satisfying. I miss playing Minecraft. I know a lot of my subs for a long time kind of didn't like the fact that I was into Fortnite as much, and I can totally respect that, but, you know, I've been coming back recently, and this is a lot of fun. And then the last circuit right here is the yellow one. It's the same thing as before. It's just another piston pulling from that same input, and it just turns it on. This is kind of just a proof of concept sort of thing. If you're going to build this in survival mode, to have this light up whenever you have an ingredient selected, it tells you which one is selected. It's just a nice to have. So I think that just about covers everything for the 30th time. The world download will be in the description below if you guys want to check this out in excruciating detail. The simple version is over here if you don't care about sorting your output. This is a lot easier to study if you're just trying to figure out the design. Any questions, leave them in the comments below. If I missed anything, let me know. I did design all of this on stream. I won't be linking those streams, but if anybody wants to see it, you can comment below. If I link one stream, it's just pretty much every Minecraft stream following it. Yeah, subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you made it this far, I want you to what should we comment? You should comment something related to golden carrots. It needs to be slick, okay? Something you do with golden carrots, something about your favorite food being golden carrots. I just want that little Easter egg in the comments if you guys made it this far in the video. Yeah, I'm just kind of publishing this to sort of light a fire under my ass because like I said, I think I finished this thing 4 or 5 times, but me and the people in stream chat just kept coming up with more and more and more features. Like, big credits to Bimblem, who I think was the first person to mention this, and multiple people following in chat also suggested a Nether Wart station. This was not my idea, and this was not something I wanted to implement, but they brought it up. I agreed, and you know what? I came around to the idea and ended up figuring out something that worked. And this was just a great group project. I really enjoyed streaming this, and I'm really glad that this is finally done. As I did mention, if there's a high enough demand, I will make a tutorial. And if I come around to it, I might make an automatic system for this, even though this is sort of automatic. It won't do every single potion automatically, but as long as you select the ingredients and you flip this lever, it'll just keep going until full. So there you guys go. Thank you for watching. I'm gonna head out, and I'll see you guys the next time I upload. And you should subscribe so you get that notification. See you guys.